people might be thinking, why now? It's been a few years. I wanted to be able to speak about it in a way that will help other people spot the warning signs early. But I also wanted to speak about it in a position where I wasn't kind of feeling trauma or emotion around it. The reason being is that when I first said we were getting a divorce, and I touched on some issues, I kept it very vague, just because the whole truth of the matter is so Netflix drama. I wouldn't even know where to start, which you're about to find out now. But it's that whilst you have support, there are also people who have dealt with cluster B personalities, and also get a loud minority who will question your motives, people who don't even know you, try to say you're doing it for attention or to ruin the other person. I'm doing this for me, and the other person, I don't care. They are not someone I am willing to protect anymore. If you don't, want the consequences of your actions to come back at you, don't be a cunt. Now, I have to warn you, this story does turn pretty dark, even though there are a lot of moments in there that I now find hilarious. Trigger warning, start from the beginning. Decided to apply for a new dating show on TLC called Undressed in the end of 2014. And when I filled out the application form, it asked you to describe yourself and then describe your perfect match. Now, I really went into detail here, so I didn't think they would find me a perfect match because I was being so precise. I wanted someone who was ambitious, intelligent, looked after their body, so had a lot of discipline, good job, over 6 foot because I am 5'9", traditional values, that kind of thing. Went to the audition, got selected for the show, and then I started to panic because the premise of the show is that you do something really uncomfortable together to build up a level of intimacy quickly. So you have to undress each other down to the underwear, and that was the part that I was not comfortable with doing on TV, so I wanted to pull out. The producers got in touch with me. They were like, look, this guy is absolutely your soulmate. Asked you both a series of questions and your answers matched closer than anyone else's did. Now I'm going to share a clip from the show. When I say that our answers matched, we're talking about we both had a love of Thailand. Our goal was to move to Thailand to open a fitness business. We both competed before. Yeah, we both wanted kids. We both had a really ambitious outlook on life. All of the things that I, wanted in a partner, but...
Okay.
A whore and whatnot, but...
You're only a whore if you're also sleeping with them.
Exactly that.
And I won't ask you that. That's,
you can ask
that's
me
your
whatever you
business.
want. You can ask me whatever you want.
Are you?
Am I what? I had a big escape because I'm an honest person and I wasn't going to lie.
Honest person and he wasn't going to lie. Now, people, you really need to look out for people who try to virtue signal who they are. So they will state they are honest or have integrity. They're a kind person, they're a good person, rather than showing you who they are through actions.
Super low value stuff.
I'm literally one of the most observant people that I've ever met. And
So if you take away anything from that, that is your warning sign, red flag number 1. So anyway, getting on like a house on fire, he kisses me on the show. We both decided we wanted to go on a second date at the end of the filming. So yeah, it's safe to say we got on. The chemistry was there. For me, there was one major thing that came up on the show that I really, really didn't like. And it was the fact that he had done naked butler work and kind of stripping nudity type of thing. Now, even though I have lots of bikini photos on social media and I'm a competitor, I'm still more on the conservative side, and that's not something that I would do myself or want in a partner. But he assured me when he came to Australia, not Australia, he's from Australia. When he came to the UK, obviously he was low on funds, he was trying to get himself on his feet, and that was an avenue that was open to him to earn quick money. And you know, I understood that he was like using his looks to get ahead in life. He also had aspirations of being a model. That's another sign of narcissism, is delusions of grandeur. He had been on numerous TV shows as well, looking to get his big break. For example,
obviously Nic takes a lot of care of himself. He came down with this pinny on. Hello. Wow, yeah, I was quite shocked. I knew he was going to be naked, but it was just so naked.
So yeah, he was obsessed with a show called Love Island, had applied for it and been rejected a few times, but I just considered that as, you know, part of his character. And one of the things I did like about him was his ambition and drive. Now, I am quite a introverted person and he's an extroverted person, big circle of friends, and he really brought me out of my shell. I guess they say that opposites attract, so in that respect, I was drawn to him. So we figured out that we only worked like a 15-minute distance from each other in central London. So we started meeting on lunch breaks as our first kind of dates of getting to know each other in the park. It was spring, pretty beautiful. I felt that he really understood me. I'm a person that I've always felt that either people only see, I don't know, like one-dimensional outside, and I'm quite a quirky person, I'd say. But yeah, he saw he saw the inner beauty, I would say. And that is one of the things that these people do, cluster B personalities, is they study you, they get to know you inside and out so that you can fall into their trap because there's something about you that they want. In his instance, it was a British visa, but we'll get to that soon. And while we're on our second date in the park, I realised that I have seen him somewhere before, and it was on Plenty of Fish. And the reason that I didn't reply to his kind of roses, Plenty of Fish is an old dating site, I don't even know if it still exists, but the reason I didn't reply to his messages is because his profile was kind of topless, rose in the mouth, seemed quite vacuous, and on surface value, he wasn't my type at all. And then we added each other on social media, and this is where I should have taken an exit because this is what I saw. I mean, incorrect use of your cringe modelling pics and captions. You know, at the time, those pics were a couple of years old, and remember at the time, he would have been about 25. So I just put it down to, I don't know, men mature at a slower rate. And, you know, even though he was quite an arrogant and cocky character, there were loads of other parts of his character that I did like. And I felt that we, as a combination, pushed each other in terms of our goals. And that's what I really enjoyed about our partnership. So we've been dating for 3 months, fast forward, and we begin to prep for our first competition together, and everything is as it usually is during the honeymoon period. So no arguments, laughing into the middle of the night, sending each other sweet messages, all of that kind of romantic stuff. No red flags so far. About 6 months in, fast forward again, he asked me to move in with him. I feel it's going pretty fast, but as I said, we've at this point not even had an argument, which is another red flag because arguments are not necessarily a bad thing, people. It's how you resolve conflict of opinion in a relationship that will show you if you guys really have true compatibility and longevity. So don't shy away from arguments. So he asked me to move in with him, so we find a place 6 months in. Pretty fast, that's another sign. Obviously not in every case, but in our case, although it was moving fast, I didn't feel uncomfortable with it. What I did feel uncomfortable with was 9 months in, he asked me to marry him. Here is where I was starting to feel a lot of pressure, because to me, 9 months is not enough time, even if your relationship is going perfect and you live together and us living together was beautiful. I had no complaints or concerns. We had a good life, but it had only been a few months of us living together, like 3, 4. And anyone can maintain a facade for a few months, as I found out. But he was on a sponsored visa with the construction company that he works for, Balfour BT, I think that's how you pronounce it, and they were going through financial difficulties. So it meant that if he lost his job in these redundancies that they were threatening, he would have to go back to Australia and our relationship would end. So he convinced me that we were going to get married anyway. He'd never felt like this with anyone before, and even though it was way too soon for me, I was of the same thinking as well. And I had a lot of reservations. In my mind, alarm bells were going off. But I couldn't think of a tangible reason to say no other than it's too soon. And that too soon was mitigated by the fact that, okay, if you don't do this, he is going to leave the country, you have an apartment together, like, what are you going to do? So we did it. We got married in August, and that's when things started to get a little trickier. One thing I should add, we got legally married with a proviso that at some point we were going to have like a proper wedding. So our families did not know about this wedding. Just got to come back and put this little bit in. This was mid-August. We had flights to go spend time with his family in Australia before the Christmas and New Year's period. A full 6-week break, which I had approved from my company. I was working for government at the time, and he managed to get that time approved from his construction company, which was weird, considering that is more holiday than he's allocated. However, we're due to take off early December, and in October he got fired. So he was always complaining about his bosses and how dumb they were and how they never treated him with enough respect. His early starts, he hated that job. But he got fired anyway, but luckily he had a spousal visa, which he got pretty quickly, and his parents helped him pay for, so that wasn't a concern. The concern was he only had like enough money for like a month or so. And because we were leaving for Australia, he didn't have time to look for a job until we got back. So we were surviving on my income. So I was getting paid very well, but we live in London. It's a 2-income place. It's like New York, California, any big city. So we moved to Birmingham, which is a city that we both love because it's great for bodybuilding. And most importantly, it is so much cheaper than London. So we were able to still live a good life on my income alone. But that did mean that I was isolated from my friends and family who live in London. And that's another big thing that narcissists want you to be, is isolated away from your support system, your support network, anyone you can talk to closely about your concerns. To keep these little red flags in mind. So to make money in the meantime, he goes back to stripping, which, as I said earlier on in this video, is a no for me. But given that we were only going to be in the UK for a couple of months before heading to Australia, there wasn't really much choice there. So I just had to deal with it. We were already married. He was going back to the one thing that I personally was uncomfortable with, and he wasn't really making enough money from it to contribute. It was around sort of like £200, so £50 a weekend. He was away at weekends, so the stripping jobs would be all over the country. He would drive our car that we bought together with the profits from our joint coaching business. So after fuel and food, there wasn't much left We were spending less time away from each other because I worked between our London and Birmingham office, and things did start to decline. This is where the first crack started appearing in our relationship, because he had taken out loans to a business coach in order to grow his side of the business. I was recommending male friends to him that were signing up to the male side of our team because it was harder for him to draw in clients. We were spending less time together, we were under financial strain. He knew that debt was not something that I was comfortable with just because of the way that I had grown up, always being aware of financial stress and security, especially financial security, is something that's really important to me. And I've always worked hard to not be in debt, to spend wisely. And we had a source of income that we were using to build our shared goals, or what was our shared goals at the time, which was to get a deposit for a house, to raise a family, all of these kinds of things. I expressed my concerns and things are tense between us, but it's still our first kind of difficult patch, so we're both navigating this together. And one thing that narcissists do when they can sense they might be losing their grip on you is to start the whole love bombing process again. So we get to Australia, I meet all his friends, his family. It's Christmas, but out there it's sunny and beautiful, and everything goes back to being romantic again. We're away from some of our financial problems, and this is when he decides to propose to me. So knowing that I'm more of an introvert and more of a private person than he is, he always knew that I didn't like big proposals because I felt that it put the other person under pressure to say yes. And I've always preferred an intimate setting. So, just the two of us. He proposes to me in front of his whole family, which made me feel kind of, awkward, because obviously they've known him all his life. And I've, just met them. I always imagined that it would be, somewhere where I was kind of like looking good, not from the gym like I am now. As by the by, that was the only reason that I hesitated during the proposal.
Oh. No! No! Oh my god.
Tracy Larby, will you marry me?
I don't know.
Understandably, he wasn't happy with the way that I responded, even though I apologised 1,000 times for it. It wasn't something that he ever dropped. He felt that I had embarrassed him, and I do see his point of view there, but the amount of times that I apologised and tried to kind of explain why, that kind of should have been a warning sign that perhaps our views on things are not compatible. So I do take accountability. I'm living in Australia at his parents' house in Melbourne, and things are difficult because he doesn't have the best relationship with his father. He had told me that father has like a bad temper, and he felt that he never loved him, and that he was having to live up to difficult expectations, and that his sister was the golden child. And when I get there, I realise that it might not necessarily be true. So one thing that is a bit concerning was that Nick always used to say that I was quite like his dad, and I know that he doesn't like his dad, so I would ask him in what way, and he would mean that you're both boffins and you both love Star Wars and you both love to play Trivial Pursuit. And in fact, me and his dad played Trivial Pursuit until 4 a.m, and we got on really well. And Nick did not like that at all. What I came to find out was that the reason he didn't like his dad was because his dad holds him to account for his behaviour, whereas his mum is very enabling. Dad was in the police force, quite high up, and Nick had a long history that I found out about in Australia, I did not know this, of petty crimes, like quite outlandish behaviour, getting blind drunk, doing violent things, getting into fights. Now this part is important because he told me that he had a crazy ex-girlfriend. And his dad reinforced this because he said that she turned up at their house one night, drunk at 3 a.m, trying to break windows. I was like, Jesus, what happened? And he was like, it's because she went through my phone and she couldn't find anything, but I felt violated and broke up with her anyway, which was a plausible explanation. But remember this for the wedding day. Wow. Biggest red flags was that his father said, I can't believe how much my son has changed to be with you, which did not make sense to me because I've only known him as one person. So it doesn't feel like he had changed. But obviously his parents raised him and they know that he's gone from someone who has anger issues and mild acts of criminality to someone who is, you know, business focused. Also, he told them someone who used to be a womanizer who now wants to get married, has met a girl that is unlike his other ex-girlfriends. So he had quite a reputation in Thailand of going through working girls. This is not something I knew until the wedding. We'll get to that. So yeah, the change in him, his parents were surprised but really delighted and welcomed me into the family. That should have been a huge red flag. Huge. People do not change. They can mask who they are for so long until they go back to their true nature. Months pass, we go back to Birmingham and we start the process of saving and planning for our wedding. So this is in January 2018. We have set the date of April 2019 for our wedding on the beach in Thailand, and I've planned my absolute dream wedding. Nic is looking for a job at this time. After 3 months, he finds nothing. So at this point, decides to open an OnlyFans. And as you know, women don't really pay for OnlyFans. The market for men is with a gay audience. So he started making that kind of explicit content, which is, now don't get me wrong, because I do have clients that do OnlyFans, and I've had so many people ask me why I don't do OnlyFans. I see nothing wrong with it personally. It's just that I've always wanted to have children, and it's not something that I would want them to see. I've always been very, what's the word? I've always chosen my sexual partners very carefully. I don't see anything wrong with sleeping around. It's just that I find it hard to be physically vulnerable and intimate with someone that I don't know. I don't want to share my body with the world, my intimate body with the world. Would expect my partner not to be showing so much of themselves for a small fee. But that's what he was doing because he said that he had no other choice. The stripping wasn't making that much money. And so he began to delve into the world of gay for pay. Things are going to get pretty dark from here. So let me have my coffee, brush my teeth, and start part 2.
And I won't stop. If this video offends you, good. Make a change. And let's become the difference in the world that we want to see. Guys.